There is nothing you need to bring with you to be welcome here. No right beliefs or proof of citizenship. No eternal optimism or clarity of conviction. No boundless courage or endless expertise. You do not need to know what brought you here or how you will solve that problem you are turning over and over and over in your mind. Your bills do not need to be paid, and your checkbook can be a mess. Your children may have been up half the night, your hearing aids may not be working, and your knees may be creaking. You do not need to be already perfect or even halfway to belong in this circle where grace meets us where we are, but does not leave us as it found us, where love resides in each of us, yet is somehow more than all, where life still pulses and rages and heals and transforms, creating us and this day anew once again. In that spirit of imperfection and growing together, we light our chalice as a symbol of our covenant and the flame that burns within each of us, inviting us to come worship together. Our story today comes from Kristen Mayer. It's called The Island and the Moon. And I invite you to enjoy kind of a theater of the mind. Imagine the scenes that are described as I tell this story. When the moon turned her face toward the earth, it seemed as if the whole earth shimmered in her silvery light. The moon shined upon the great mountain, and every pebble glowed. She shone upon the vast waters, and every drop of spray glowed. She shone upon the big shore, and every grain of sand glowed. She shone upon the many islands along the coast, and every island glowed, except one. There, nestled close to the shore, was one tiny, dark island, the only dark spot on the whole shimmery earth. "Little island," called the moon, "why do you not glow? Is my light too dim?" The island did not answer, so the moon turned her face more fully to the earth. Still, the island did not glow. "Little island," called the moon, "are you in shadow?" The island did not answer, so the moon took a deep breath and blew away any wisps of cloud. Still, the island did not glow. "Little island," called the moon, "please tell me, why do you not glow?" Finally, the little island answered, "I am alone." "You are not alone," said the moon. "The vast waters surround you. See them shimmer in my light." "The waters are not like me," said the island. "They are not land. I am alone." "You are not alone," said the moon. "You are but a stone's throw away from the big shore." "I cannot throw a stone, and I cannot touch the land," said the island. "I am alone, and alone I am too little to glow." "You are not too little to glow," said the moon. "I shine on everything equally. every rock on the great mountain, every drop of spray on the big waters, every grain of sand on the big shore, and every little island. But nothing the moon said could change the island's mind. It still did not glow. As the moon moved past the little island and watched the dark spot grow smaller and smaller in the distance, she had an idea. The moon called to the waters, "Oh, shining waters, follow me, follow me." Slowly, slowly the waters of the bay slipped out into the ocean. Slowly, slowly the beach of the big shore stretched closer and closer toward the island. Slowly, slowly the beach of the little island stretched closer and closer toward the big shore. Slowly, slowly until they touched. For a few moments, the little island and the big shore were one. And then slowly, slowly the waters slipped back into the bay. When the moon came around again the next night, bringing the waters with her, she shone upon the great mountains, and every pebble glowed. She shone upon the vast waters, and every drop of spray glowed. She shone upon the big shore, and every grain of sand glowed. She shone upon the many islands along the coast, and even the little island glowed. The whole earth shimmered in her silvery light.
When I was a boy, each week, Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread. Everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything, everything, everything's a miracle. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Yes, everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now.
In creating a spiritual home, supporting it with our stewardship pledge, so far we've built a foundation, we've nurtured our spirit and each other, and we've integrated into a diverse, welcoming congregation. So now it's time to share our combined power with the larger world, the community outside of these walls. Yesterday, I shared a Facebook post that recalled some of our great moments in the past years. I hope many of you were able to sift through the photos to remember these great victories for our community. But in case you missed it, Let's explore the many ways in which UUCY shares its power. We have shared this building and grounds with over 10 outside organizations. We offer a safe and well-maintained facility for 7 Tribes Daycare. We give York Hospital employees a predictable and easy place to park their car. Both the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts have called our carriage house home. The Susquehanna Folk Music Society and Voices in the Hall have a sacred and lively space to share their music. We share our spirit, our time, our convictions for justice and change. Our social justice group leads the pathway for us to support and engage with the Rainbow Rose Center and all the gender spectrum events that happen every year in the city. Our Share the Plate program supports a local nonprofit each month. That's 12 of them every year. Our Advent Calendar Project and Blessing Bag Project supports the homeless shelters. A recent effort yielded over 40 boxes of supplies. We provide a meal every other month for our daily bread. It's the famous shepherd's pie, and we often produce over 20 casseroles. We are regular voices for protest and change at legislative rallies in Harrisburg and Washington, D.C. We saved a fine young man from languishing in York County Prison. Recently, one of our members has organized an online classroom for Ukrainian children. Phew, and that's just a few of them. So as I close our stewardship time together this week, I invite you to type in the chat recognition of those who share our community strength beyond these walls. Yes, your stewardship pledge, that commitment to provide regular, predictable financial support to UUCY, well, it does pay the bills. It keeps the lights on. It will go to repair or replace some of the 20-year-old systems that need upgrading. It fixes the mold problem in the carriage house. But it does so much more than that. By keeping our spiritual home well-funded, we build a strong foundation, sturdy walls, and now we have a solid roof over our head, and that propels us into the larger world. As of this week, we received about half of the pledge forms. So if you haven't sent yours in, you know who you are. Of that $252,000 goal, we stand about 110 grand. So we're still a little under 50%, but we do have 3 weeks to go, and I know we can get there. As you reflect on what you can afford to give, keep an eye toward the meaning beyond the dollars. We all know that York is a conservative town, so our voice is very needed to keep the balance. And that's what we're really supporting here with our stewardship pledge. The ability to share our voice, share our resources, and share our convictions to affect real change in the world. So now listen and sing along to Gretchen and Lisa's beautiful rendition of From You I Give, to You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Our reading this morning is Remember by Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance language is, that life is. Remember.
There is something a little bit special in the moment when a conductor hands their choir a new piece of music. As the score gets passed around, there's a buzz. Ooh, have we sung this? I don't know it. Oh, I love this composer. How does this go? And as you get your copy, you look at it. You look at your part. You examine it. Some of the music's potential is already there. Depending on how well you read music, you can see the weaving of parts and perhaps the building of tension, how the themes combine to make a whole. And then as you begin to rehearse, you begin to hear its potential too. As folks find their notes, you hear hints of what the composer has intended. The more you sing it, the more you find the lush passages and the clever rhythms. And as your knowledge grows, so too does the beauty of the piece. But rarely does something miraculous happen. And when it does, well, you write sermons about it for one thing, but when it does, you realize that the miraculous moment in a song isn't the notes on the page. It's in the singing. I first experienced this particular miraculous moment in seminary 8 years ago, and then 5 years ago in the General Assembly Choir. It is a short piece by Norwegian composer Ola Gjeilo called Ubi Caritas, or Where Charity Is. We know these words from the Taizé song that's found in our Teal hymnal, Singing the Journey. Gjeilow's choral piece was inspired by another gorgeous setting of the text by Maurice Duraflay, and also inspired by Gregorian chant. The piece begins simply, with high voices in unison, then lower voices joining, then breaking into full harmonies. Many choral pieces begin this way, this build. It's a familiar form and it feels comfortable. But then 29 measures in, as the lyrics in Latin offer the phrase, "May we love each other with a sincere heart," this happens. The voices all come together on the same note, not the same pitch in different octaves, but to one single note. And then there is a breath, a rest. Mystery shows up. Another phrase, then repeating the text, their hearts now changed by their connection with new complexity. And then the voices complete the song with a glorious Amen. Leaving the audience and the singers uplifted, satisfied, changed. God, the divine, the mystery, something shows up in that one moment, the voices coming together, the space in between. Yes, in theory, it's written on the page, but the moment doesn't happen on the page. The moment happens in the doing, in the creating, in the relationship between the voices, in the relationship between sound and silence, in the process. This is at the heart of what's known as process theology, the idea that the divine is not separate and apart from us, but is part of us, in relationship with us, and we in relationship with all. Long before there was a name for it, we see these ideas, certainly in the writings of 19th century transcendentalists. We hear it in this passage from Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay, The Oversoul. Let us learn the revelation of all nature and thought, that the highest dwells within us, that the source of nature are in our own minds. As there is no screen or ceiling between our heads and the infinite heavens, so there is no bar or wall in the soul where we, the effect, cease, and God, the cause, begins. I am constrained every moment to acknowledge a higher origin for events than the will I call mine. There is deep power in which we exist and whose beatitude is accessible to us. The soul's health consists in the fullness of its reception. Forever and ever the influx of this better and more universal self is new and unsearchable. Within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. When it breaks through our intellect, it is genius. When it breathes through our will, it is virtue. When it flows through our affections, it is love. It is love, echoed in our universalism, the idea of a loving God who does not want to punish us, but wants us to do good in the world. It is affirmed in our long-held belief in the goodness and progress of humanity. We find it in Unitarian theologian James Freeman Clarke's affirmation of the progress of humankind onward and upward forever. And John Dietrich, considered the father of religious humanism, spoke of a cosmic theism, which interprets God as the indwelling power in the universe, rather than an individual, separate power. These ideas show up over and over again in our historical Unitarian and Universalist theologies and are what lead us to our understanding that it is in how we treat one another and how we relate to one another that matters, and that there is always more to know. Or to quote Unitarian theologian James Luther Adams, revelation is continuous. So, by the time the term process thought emerges in the 1920s, Unitarians and Universalists are already experiencing and expressing the healing power of connection and relationship, the human potential for good and for healing. Now, the scientifically minded among us are going to like this next bit, because process thought starts with Albert Einstein. Well, more specifically, it begins with a British mathematician named Alfred North Whitehead, who was fascinated with Einstein's work in quantum physics, where we see that everything is in motion. Everything, from the biggest bodies of mass to the tiniest quark, is in motion. It turns out that everything we thought was fixed, stable, and solid is actually vibrating, changing, and shifting. Whitehead realized this didn't just apply to the physical world, but to the metaphysical as well. And he developed a philosophy that proposed that events, not matter, are the discrete base of reality. Essentially, the core of Whitehead's philosophy is, if it seems static, don't trust it. Soon, process philosophy found a home in theological circles. Charles Hartshorne and John Cobb realized that if everything was an ever-changing event, then surely God and all of creation was equally ever-changing. Instead of an immutable God above us creating the rules of nature but not in nature, this God is as mutable as the quark, at once a vibration and a particle. This God, like us, is always being created, is always creating, is always happening. This God, like us, is eternally becoming. This God, like us, can't be simply defined as any one thing and is in everything. Excuse me. Now, the mechanics of process theology, much like any theology really, gets pretty quickly into the weeds of the kind of academic speak that made me glad I only had to take one class in systematic theology. But if process teaches us anything, it's not the words on the page that matter anyway. Just like the ubi caritas, it's in the doing, the living, the relating. Simply put, all things are in deep relationship to one another. Every moment that we engage with each other and the world, we change. The world changes. We see that in the tides from our story. And that mystery beyond us, the universe, the collective unconscious, the infinite all, the divine, God, whatever term you use, that changes too, because we are in deep relationship to the universe and it with us. Everything living is always becoming. And now, in process thought, time is not linear. Instead, it is unfolding in many directions all at once, each new moment ripe with possibility. In that eternal now, we are constantly changing. Each new moment presents us with all that has been known, offering a chance to glimpse all possibility, inviting us to creativity and positive choices. And this works beyond theology because the first moment, the Big Bang, was a positive event. All of the forces of nature are about attraction and order. The makeup of the universe itself is a little more matter than antimatter, a little more order than chaos, a little more yes than no. And it is the yes that persuades us to yes again, to love again, to goodness again. In process theology, much like Universalist theology, God is love, and that love is expressed in a faithfulness toward creation. That God is with us for our good and seeks to persuade us toward love. This mystery, this process lives in the spaces in between, in the breaths, in the relationships between others. This relational God is perhaps the most relational reality of all. Human choices to hurt others hurt everything. And maybe that's what evil is, when we make choices that hurts others. Process theologian Marjorie Hewitt-Sukoki suggests that in positive choices, we blend our own interests with the interests of the wider communities within the world. In negative choices, we secure our own interests against all others. Process thinking affirms that God calls us beyond violence toward communities of well-being. Okay, that's a lot to think about, and I've hardly scratched the surface yet. I have been captivated by process theology for more than a decade, and I'm still trying to puzzle it out. But what I know is this. When I first encountered it, I got excited because I discovered there was a name to the theology I already believed without ever knowing such a thing existed. And apparently I'm not alone. Unitarian Universalists all over are realizing that this is the narrative imagery of God that many of us understand intimately, whether we use the word God or not. Process thought aligns with our Unitarian belief in human potential and reason as our way toward truth and meaning. It aligns with our Universalist belief in universal goodness and love, which propels us to do good in the world too. We see process in our principles and sources, from the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, which we know always changes us, to the interdependent web of all creation, which includes us, to the way we celebrate our direct experiences of mystery and wonder. And we are persuaded by goodness to affirm peace, justice, dignity for all, compassion, equity, freedom. And in this way, the call of our principles and sources become even stronger. Process invites us, lures us, persuades us to act for good, to make something happen, to find the divine in all things, to seek the mystery of connection, to do a little better, to do a little more good, to be always changing, always becoming. We are compelled by this loving relational way the world works to turn our principles into our practices, to love the hell out of this world, to actually build the beloved community, to work for justice and equity, to seek liberation for all. Not just freedom, but liberation. At General Assembly in 2020, the Commission on Institutional Change published their report, Widening the Circle of Concern, in which they call for a shift in our collective theologies to liberation in order to do this work. Namely, what does it mean to view how we are Unitarian Universalists and how we understand our principles and sources when we consider not just freedom from constraints and our fairly common reliance on self-reliance, to considering those both in and outside our congregations and their collective liberty and liberation from poverty, bigotry, and oppression. When we shift our view from how am I free from constraint to how are we liberated from oppression, we understand the power of Unitarian Universalism to truly be about the tides raising all boats, to helping create a world where all of us are truly free, to actually build the beloved community described in Dr. King's dream. When we change our view, we understand the power of Unitarian Universalism to affirm that none of us are free until all of us are free. That's liberation. And process theology helps us with the how of liberation. How do we create this world? Through our relationships, storytelling, learning from our experiences, learning from others, engaging in life, noticing what happens when we connect, not just between us, but around us, holding multiple truths and building a new way, creating, affecting change, allowing ourselves to be changed, giving, not just from our wallets, but from our very hearts and spirits, allowing ourselves to always be in flux, always becoming. This idea of God, the mystery of all existence and existence itself, is not isolated or selfish. John Donne is right. No one is an island. We are all connected. In the holy words of author Octavia Butler, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. And so let us be a people of change, a people changed by love, a people changed for love and for hope and for liberation, always becoming for all that is our lives. Amen.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for fullness, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
At this time in our service each week, we invite you into generosity. This congregation relies on the time, the talent, and the treasure of its members and friends in order to maintain our community, to grow our capacity, and to thrive both now and in the years to come. It is the practice of this congregation to share each week's offering with an organization serving our community that upholds our values. We use Share the Plate to honor our commitment to service to our local community through these generous donations to local partners. This month, our Share the Plate partner is Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is one of the nation's leading providers of high-quality, affordable health care and the nation's largest provider of sex education. Here is a video they've provided for us.
These These are the doors to Planned Parenthood. They're just doors, really. But what makes these doors different is the fundamental misunderstanding about what goes on behind them. But here's the thing, what we do isn't a secret. It's quality healthcare for women, men, and young people. STI testing, well-woman exams, birth control, pregnancy tests, family planning, sexual assault consultations, and safe, legal abortion. All from a team of people who happen to be acutely dedicated and highly equipped to serve you. There is no mystery here. What's behind these doors is a safe haven for anyone who needs it. There is no judgment, no agenda, just exceptional healthcare and our stories. From the clinicians to physicians, medical directors and office managers, from the medical assistants to front office specialists to you, the people we serve. We are all Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood takes care of all of us.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We extinguish the chalice here, so that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again.
We close with these words from Scott Cooper. The world aches for us to join together and bring about healing, toil for justice, and produce ever-increasing love. This is our calling. Go forth and act accordingly. Go in love, go in joy, go in peace.
This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird, shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse, made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.